Joining me on another episode of Chris's Warrior Path, where I discuss topics mainly on health and self-defense, or rather we discuss topics mainly on health and self-defense. However, we'll tend to go into other topics as well, depending on what's going on out there in the world. I'm your host, Chris, and thank you for joining me on this Wednesday, March 31st episode of Chris's Warrior Path. And I thank you for listening, for any listeners who've been on my podcast and even downloading my podcast. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. And also for the new listeners, and not only throughout the US, but throughout the world, I appreciate you. So thank you very much. And thank you all for listening. And so tonight, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. And actually I'm rolling some footage on my camera, so I will be posting this podcast on my YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute channels. So my camera has limited time right now, so I'm just going to not spend so much time on this topic. But I talk about health, and in the last episode, I was talking about removing toxic people from your life. And I just wanted to take this a bit further because I've been hearing different things, and I couldn't agree anymore based on what other speakers and what they've said about toxic people. And it's so interesting that we're in springtime, at least in the US, and it's time for spring cleaning. And I personally think that we should be doing this in our lives as well. Not only get rid of the addictions that we have that's holding us back from our full potential, but I think that there are some people in our lives, whether it's your family or friends, and I hate to say that, maybe it's people you've known for some time, whoever's in your circle, I think it's a really good time to assess who's really there for you, who has your back, and who really has a knife behind their back. Because they may smile in front of you, but when you're not looking, they may be talking shit about you. Or they may be ready to, metaphorically speaking, pull that knife on you when you least expect it. Whether it's jealousy, envy, they just don't like you, period. Or they don't like the things that you're trying to accomplish, or they don't like your positive energy, who you are as a person. I mean, you never know. I mean, I speak from personal experience. I've had this from family, I've had this from friends, quote unquote, family and friends. And it's interesting, when I resonated with some of these other speakers, where it tends to be strangers, not even related blood, where they'll really be supportive of you. But if it's your own family, where, yeah, you're blood related, you got the genetics going, they want to see you fail. And I could speak from experience also where I've had some rough times. I mean, there was a time where I was living in my car, and I remember when my mother, years before she passed away and leading up to actually when she was going in and out of hospitals, and I was her primary caregiver, making decisions for her as well. There were times where I just felt like I was alone. And I remember working overnight shifts at a job that I fucking hated, but I know I needed to pay bills, and I know I needed to help my mother. But there were times where I didn't have enough money to make that 1 hour commute to drive back home. And I had to be close by, just in case if the doctors and the nurses needed to speak to me in person regarding my mother, making decisions. And so I had no choice but to sleep in my car. So that has gone on off and on for months. And this was a few years ago. And, I almost remember it like it's yesterday, though. Because that pain. And for those of you who have lived in your car, or if you've been homeless in some shape or form, I think you could relate to me. You'll know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. But I recall there were times where it's like, I was praying a lot. And that's what helped me get through, along with my experiences previously of going through some tough times. And in addition to being a former competitive athlete and winning some titles, championships, and also things such as bodybuilding, working out. And I know how it feels to go through pain, and you got to push right through it in order to make yourself stronger and to improve. But there were times where it's like, oh fuck, it's like, I could use some help right now. Here I am sleeping in my car during these cold winter nights, and it's raining, and I remember it was near an airport where these fucking 767s, giant jets just going flying over my head, and I remember having earmuffs to just cover my ears. I would just wake up with these big ass planes flying over me, and wow. But there was a point where I started getting used to it. But there was just also that feeling like, there was a sense of hopelessness at times. But there was also that other side of me where, I told myself I had to push through, I had to survive. But my point is, in times like those, you tend to know who really has your back. And I know for one, I had to have my back. And I don't know about some of you listeners and who you or what you believe in. I mean, no disrespect to you, but for me personally, I believe in the Creator, God. So, hi, how's it going, Amma? Thank you for joining in the room. But yeah, like what I was saying, it's like, for me to just like going through those tough times, you tend to know who has your back. And so I'm bringing up 3 points. I wrote them down, but I'm going to basically improv each one based on personal experience and from notes that I've taken from other people who've had similar experience as well. And so you have to realize that in regards to toxic people, I know it may feel a little strange, I mean, especially if it's your blood relative, to cut people, even though they're toxic, and they give you all this fucking drama, and they may be narcissistic at times, and they'll blame shit on you. You have to realize, though, not everyone is there in your life forever. And so, with that said, you have to also realize that your vibe and their vibe changes. Now, I don't mean to sound all weird, but for me, I somewhat believe in the law of attraction because I've seen this come into play in my life as well. And this, in addition, happened when I had a string of successes and I had finished my undergraduate degrees and going into graduate degrees, graduate school, and then having all these other successes like winning at different sports. You don't necessarily have the friends that you had back in junior high or high school. And that's okay. It's just, I know it may feel foreign, but you gotta also understand that you're going to outgrow some people in your life. And that's absolutely fine. That's part of life. You're not going to see your 50 to 100 friends that you knew ever since middle school and high school or elementary school. People are just going to grow up. They're going to have their own agendas. They're going to have their own lives. They're getting married or have kids, their own careers. And you're going to have your own as well. But as you mature and as you learn different things, you got to realize that, people are not going to be on the same page as you. And therefore, that's what I'm talking about with different vibes. It's okay to have that. It's okay that, you guys don't see eye to eye on certain things. And that kind of leads to things such as, okay, do I need to cut this person or not? Now, here's the thing. you can love a person from a distance. Doesn't mean, I hate you, I'm going to egg your house, I'm going to slash your car, and so forth. Although there may be some people that you seriously hate because maybe they betrayed you in some way. But there's also the possibility of, you can still love people from a distance. I mean, even if it's someone, a blood relative. But at the same time, you got to think about your mental health, your wellness, your peace. You got to keep that. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. Again, I'm going to repeat that. If you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of anyone else. You can't give what you don't have. It's kind of like a bank account where you're paying something with a check, or you're trying to order something with your debit card, but you have a fucking overdraft negative amount in your account. So how the hell are you going to pay for all that stuff? So I just wanted to bring out that analogy. Just think about that. So you definitely have to take care of yourself first before you could take care of anyone. And that kind of reminds me when I had to keep taking CPR first aid classes, where they would always emphasize that if there's an emergency situation, you got to not only dial 911, but you got to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation and first aid. You have to take care of yourself first and make sure that the scene is safe before you tend to a person who's injured or unconscious, so forth. So I like to use that analogy in this situation about toxic people, because if you're not happy, if you're not taking care of yourself, well, how the fuck are you going to be helping other people and be useful to other people? So, that's my take on that. As far as vibes, and just, don't even put up with that shit. And I know for me, it's like, people want to talk shit. Look, I ain't got time for that. Okay? So either you're going to be working with me or not. And I'll tell you now, on my social media recently, I deleted some people because I had people where they were pretty antagonistic, or they'll indirectly do that. And I can't deal with that in my life right now. I mean, I'm too old for this shit. And so I've got other things going on in my life, especially career-wise. Why do I need to give my time and energy to that bullshit? So hopefully you're taking those points into your life, and just consider that. I mean, if you haven't listened to my previous episode about removing toxic people, where I highly recommend, if you have a notepad, just write down who really has your back and who doesn't, who has your best interest. If you want to make a list, and I guarantee you that if you're fortunate, maybe one person or maybe two people really do have your best interest at heart. So that's why, when I recommend this to different people, it's kind of a reality check for them to just write down, make a list of who's in their life. It doesn't matter if you're family or friends, whoever's in their circle, to write down, see who really has their best interests. Because I'll guarantee you that, or I can almost guarantee you rather, 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times, they're going to be getting you later on. And this is not a paranoia type of thing. It's just, again, it's different vibes. And you may mature, you may learn some things on the way in your life path. And that's great that you're maturing. You want to better yourself, as opposed to some people who want to fucking stay on the matrix and stay mediocre. But that's not your style. You want to go and you want to grow, and you want to maybe do some daring things, such as run a business, be successful at it, or be great at a skill. Maybe it's playing an instrument or whatever. You're great in arts, film production, so forth. Whatever your goals may be, it may not, or other people who you've known for a while, they may not align with that. And that happens. And so my next point, you got to ask yourself too, why are you keeping people and drama in your life? So I'll ask you these questions. It's like, why is it that you're in that relationship or marriage that you're being abused? Now, I'm not saying cut it off right now or you get a divorce, but you really have to assess the situation and be honest with yourself. And I think everyone has that issue of really being truthful and honest with themselves. And then they try to use a euphemism, and they try to work their way around it to be understanding about the situation. When in actuality, the situation's not good for them. Okay, if you're getting abused, why the fuck are you in that marriage or in that relationship? Whether it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I mean, why? When you could be finding someone else who's way better and suitable for you, rather than someone who's stressing the fuck out of you and giving you some shit white hairs and making you lose everything and draining you of your finances and your peace. Why would you keep that? It's almost like, why would you be at a job where people are fucking gossiping and backstabbing you? Now, I know these days, jobs and unemployment, and hey, you do what you need to do. But also, you gotta realize too, that it shouldn't stop you from finding other opportunities as well. So, that doesn't mean that's your death sentence, and that you gotta live there until you're 6 feet under the ground. That should give you every fucking motivation to say, I gotta get the fuck out of here and fucking get better at my life and improve it, because I can't stand this hellhole shit that I'm in. People are so toxic, gossiping, and they'll try to fire me or get me fired, and we got managers here micromanaging and all this other shit. See, again, why, aside from this whole thing with the lockdowns, the pandemic, and this fucked up economy that we're going through, you also have to keep in mind too, why would you be staying in a situation that would be hurting you? Because let's face it, there are other methods to earning income in a legal, lawful way, that is. But if you wanted to sell some products or sell some shirts, or if there was another job you were eyeballing, why not? Why not go for that? Apply for that. There are still some other things out there for you. I mean, it's not I'm in one situation and this is it for me. No, I think it's a growing experience. And again, I've been laid off quite a number of times, and I'll tell you from experience. And I'll probably say that in another episode. But I did briefly explain something like this in previous episodes, and I will touch on this more. Where I've been laid off a number of times, but I found something better next time around. So, and I'm glad, because it was a shithole that I was in anyways. And people were talking shit and thinking, why the fuck am I even dealing with this? And okay, yeah, there's a steady paycheck, but is it really worth it on my health? And again, this goes back to my point of, okay, you got to take care of yourself first before you take care of other people. And I get it. If you have a family, then yeah, okay, I get it. Take care of them. But that should not stop you from doing something on the side to earn an additional source of income. And again, in a lawful, legal way, okay? I don't want you doing anything crazy that's going to get you thrown in jail or some shit. But I think you get my point there. So again, that's my second point, is why are you keeping people in drama? It's like saying, why would you keep a boyfriend or a girlfriend who's going to abuse you, or you're staying in a marriage where your husband or your husband or your wife, your spouse, is fucking you over? I mean, is that really helping you? And so this leads me to my last point, and I previously mentioned this, is who really has your back? You really have to ask yourself, and just be honest about that. Who really has your back in your circle? I mean, I recently I just deleted and blocked people from social media. They're just people I just don't talk to anymore, and And it is true what the saying is. It's lonely at the top. And I don't mean that in an arrogant, cocky way. I'm saying that path is so narrow to success, your own personal success. Because not everyone is willing to take that. Not everyone is going to be with the same vibe and on the same page as you. They don't see what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's what I mean by it's lonely at the top. It's a narrow road going to the top. And you have to ask yourself, how important is this? And again, I had mentioned this in previous episodes, particularly the one where I was talking about setting goals in your life. Is you have to understand the why. And the why, the reason why you're doing this goal, it has to be personally compelling to you. It's so important to the point where, it does drive you passionately, and you get up early from bed and you're just excited, even if you've only had 3-4 hours of sleep and you're just busy cracking away working on different shit. And you could go on hours end working on that type of stuff. So the question is, do you have people who are going to support you in doing stuff such as that? I mean, you may have to give up your social life. Although these days with the lockdowns, I'm not sure how the social scene is now, but I'll speak from experience. It's like I stopped doing all that clubbing many years ago. I mean, I'm too old for that fucking shit. Going to salsa clubs and meeting different women, and I'm really focused on career goals, and not only in my full-time job. I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing there, and helping the community in that. But also with something like this, my show here, my podcast show, and maybe I'm reaching out to maybe at least 1 or 2 people out there where they're probably going through some things right now that are similar, and they probably want to hear another voice tell them that something that they could resonate with as far as their similarities going on. But I know personally there are a lot of people right now who I've known for years, family and friends, who actually didn't have my back, because they will have that smile in front of you. They'll smile at you and they'll say, "Oh yeah, hey, oh, good job, yeah, congratulations." But there comes a point where you start reading that body language, and you know who's hiding and who has that knife behind them, and they'll talk shit behind you and other people, and then word gets around, and then you'll find out eventually. So again, you really have to assess who's on your team. And there's a saying that if they're not bringing anything to your table, then that means they're taking something from your table. They are draining you. They're energy vampires leeching off of you. I mean, it reminds me of a couple exes of mine years ago. It's like, shit, I mean, she was just, I mean, it was good at first, but the honeymoon phase it wore off, and I saw her for what she really was, and I'm glad that I got out when I did. But anyways, those are my 3 main points that you can just take home with you. Is not everyone is there forever. You got to realize that not everyone has the same vibe or they're not on the same page as you. And you have to ask yourself, why are you keeping people in drama if you are? Maybe it's time to live a drama-free life. And even if that means living in solitude. And I think, I mentioned this before, where in my other episodes, that for me, these lockdowns and the pandemic, this is one of the only things that was a benefit to me, was I start to see who's really on my side. And number 2, I could live in solitude. I don't need to put up with people's bullshit anymore. I mean, I've gone through so much shit in my life. So yeah, I could push forward. I could move forward. And why would I need to keep anyone who's